Hello, folks. It's good to be with you again. This is Mike Newmeyer, and I want to talk to you about the economy today, and of course, what's going on overall with retirement issues. But I want to broad stroke today and talk about the economy because the economy is a big issue. You know, some people think we're in a financial crisis. They look at the market and so on, and they think we're in a financial crisis, but it's much more than that. Okay, back in '08, we had a financial crisis. We saw some of the houses on Wall Street collapse, Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, and so on. And we had an issue with subprime loans and all that sort of thing. And incidentally, we still have subprime loan problems, but that's really was a financial crisis. Today, we have a financial crisis on the one hand, okay, but we have an economic crisis, and it's a worldwide crisis, and it's affecting us in many different ways. And I just had this conversation with a client earlier today, and I think it's important really to talk about this. That this is a narrative that a lot of people are talking about in segments. They say my groceries are highly inflated, my gasoline costs a lot more, and so forth. And everything costs more. Travel costs more. Buy an airline ticket and find out. Reserve a hotel room and see what that's all about. So there's more than a financial crisis. There's an economic crisis. We have issues with the Fed. We're worried about the rates. Everybody's worried about the rates. If you want to buy a house, you're going to find out that your interest rate's higher than it was. Okay? The only good thing, I suppose, about rates is that slowly but surely the income at the banks, you know, the CDs and the interest in your accounts are going to creep up slowly. But the banks aren't going to give it to you fast, okay? Because they have a lot of non-performing loans. They have a lot of issues to deal with. So they're not going to give you increases in the rates. They'll watch the competition and they'll respond to the competition as they have to. But basically, we have an economic crisis. And that economic crisis is, again, as I said, it's worldwide. We're going to see food shortages. We see that Ukraine was producing a tremendous amount of wheat and corn. We're going to have fertilizer shortages. Without fertilizer, you don't grow anything. Okay? There's a lot of issues that are going on. A lot of them are political, international political issues, domestic political issues. They're disrupting the situation. So we got a lot of stuff going on. And we got the elections coming up, and we don't know how that's going to go, and so forth and so on. And so what are we going to do as far as retirement is concerned? And I went through this list of questions back months ago. I sent this list of questions out, to my clients. And if anything, these questions are more important today than they were then. So I'm going to go through these questions with you, okay? Number one, do you know how long you will be able to generate income you need if the paycheck stops today? And that's not just an issue of retirement because a lot of folks are going to lose their jobs. And we're hearing it on television. Big companies are planning to cut back and so forth because they are pressed for profitability. They're pressed from a lot of different points of view. And inflation affects big companies because everything they buy to manufacture, of course, is more expensive than it was. So they're in a crunch situation, the manufacturers are. Every kind of business is in a crunch situation. Go to the dentist and see what how much your costs have increased, and on and on and on. So, how long will you be able to generate income that you need if your paycheck stops today? Big question, big question. Now, it's interesting because there are ways to tap into your 401ks without any penalties if you needed to, okay? And I can help you with that. And there's things like 72Ts. People tell me my expenses are greater and I don't have any more income. Okay, well, can you utilize what you've got in your plan without disrupting, without hurting yourself? And there are ways you can do it. You can create lifetime income from that, lifetime income. Okay, so you could get lifetime income from the plans at work, huh? You could do that and still maintain the plan at work and still, this is before you actually leave the job. And you can do it regardless of your age. People talk about the penalties. Oh, the penalties. Yes, that is true. There are penalties, but we can go around those penalties and get you lifetime income. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. So, talk to me about that. Call me. Our telephone number. We talk about it all the time, but it's 410 902 0464. Give me a call. My staff and I will help you. Okay. Have you identified and calculated your retirement income gap? Meaning, you're going to get this amount of money in retirement. Hopefully, you know what that is. And over here, you got your expenses. Maybe your expenses are greater than your income. What are you going to do about that? What are you going to do about that? So we can help you with those kinds of issues also. But you need to identify that number. A lot of people want to bury a head in the sand. They don't want to deal with these things. I'll tell you, at least 20% of the people I talk to don't want to deal with these things. Okay? They're leaving it up to a spouse. Maybe the spouse isn't really watching it either. Huh? Maybe they got a lot of wishful thinking going on, but we can help. Okay. Do you know how much you will have available in discretionary assets above what you will need to generate? Well, it's kind of an interesting question. If you don't have enough money to cover your expenses, then you don't really have any discretionary money. Okay? So we can help you look at an overall plan. That's what you really need. You need to have a plan that's customized to you, to what you want to do, what your needs are, what your income is going to be. We can explore all kinds of possibilities on the income, on tax-free income, on additional income that you can make available to yourself through utilizing your plans at work and so forth. There's a lot of things we can do. We can get you guaranteed lifetime income. There's a whole lot of things that can be done. You just have to ask for help. You just have, unfortunately, you don't know what you don't know. That's really the way it is. And I don't pretend that I know everything because I learn all the time. I learn from my clients. I learn by studying and watching and researching all the time. That's my job. So I learn a lot that I can use to help you. And do you know if your portfolio is properly diversified to provide enough growth, safety, liquidity, and income? Well, those are basic questions, of course. And we can sit down and we can analyze and we can help you make the right moves and so forth and help resolve these issues. All right. Have you formulated a plan? A plan, huh? There it is again. A plan for how to use Social Security to maximize income and protect your personal assets. It's very interesting. The answers to utilizing Social Security may very well surprise you. They may very well surprise you. The instant answer for a lot of folks is, well, the longer I wait, of course, the more money I will get. Okay? That's an easy answer, but it may not be the right answer. So let's look at your situation. Let's analyze the Social Security, how it affects, what's the best timing, and all that kind of thing. And do you hold annual reviews of your plan to assess if you have met previous goals and what your new goals are? And, that's kind of perfunctory considering the changing landscape, financial landscape, economic landscape is taking place. Every day it's changing. We need to have more options. We need to know what those options can be. We really need to look at the whole picture and create a plan today that's going to work today, tomorrow, and hopefully, for a while in the future. Okay. Do you know how you'll cover the cost of medical and long-term care expenses should you or your spouse require it? People think, well, I'll never need it. Just like I'll never die. I got news for you. You probably will need it, and somebody in your family will need it, and probably be your spouse or you that will need it, or both. What are you doing about those things? I see sad stories out there where people are paying for long-term care themselves, exhausting the money they have in the bank, exhausting their lifetime savings. There's better answers than that. There's better answers than that. So we can show you some of those answers too. Let's see. Have you calculated how much income you would be lost if your spouse passed away? How much are you depending on your spouse for income? Is his or her Social Security greater than yours so that you'll be able to tap into your spouse's Social Security as opposed to yours? That doesn't mean you got ahead, does it? That just means that you're going to keep the larger account. What are you going to do? How much counts on your spouse being alive? Do you have life insurance? What are the best options for life insurance if you don't have any and you're 50 years old? You may be surprised. There's some tax-free money available even if you are 50 years old and you're going to go into a life insurance policy. There are ways to put money into certain kinds of policies where you will get lifetime, where you could use the money for long-term care, or you could simply use the cash for whatever your needs are. So let's talk about all those things. Do you know the cash flow rate your portfolio would need to So in other words, the easy answer used to be, well, I can take 4% of my out of my portfolio in the market, and the market will make up for it. So I won't be dipping into my principal. That's not true now. That's not true now. We're seeing what the market can do. We've watched what it can do over the last few years. It's quite a lesson for folks that haven't seen this before. Okay? It took 7 years. When we went down in 2008 or 7, it took 7 years to get back to even. What happened to that money we lost? You never made it up. So keep that in mind. There's what we call a sequence of returns that takes place in the market. You will always have a bear market coming. You will always have, different markets that take place. Will take over time. Things change constantly in the market. Can you survive those changes? I had a conversation with a 70-year-old yesterday. Okay, he said, well, it came back. Yeah, it came back, and now you're 70. Now, if the market's going down, which is obviously going down now, if it goes down and it takes 7 years to come back up, how will you deal at 77? How will you deal with the market going down? Are you going to take the same amount of money out each year and have the principal go down? It's a different story the older you are. So we can help you with that. We can get you lifetime income that doesn't go down. Okay, we can get you lifetime income that you can't lose and doesn't go down. So how does that sound compared to what goes on in the market? We can show you those kinds of things. Do you understand how much you'll be paying in taxes? Well, what are taxes going to cost you in retirement? Well, guess what inflation is? Inflation's a tax. What would it be like if we're back to the Jimmy Carter years when we had, what did we have? 15% inflation? So, gasoline is already more than 15%. We doubled the price of gasoline in a year. Do we think we're going to have 15% overall? Well, people can't deal with that number. Well, guess what? You got 10 now. And that's not counting gasoline. And incidentally, when the government measures inflation, they don't count gasoline and they don't count food. Well, what happens if we have a food shortage? We will have a food shortage. What do you think is going to happen to the price of food then? So we're going to see serious inflation. Are you ready for it? That's the big question. Are you ready for it? So what I want to say to you is, do you have a plan? Do you have a plan for all these different things? It's just not just a financial plan. It's a total plan. It's a housing plan. It is, of course, a retirement plan. It's what am I going to do if I've got parts of my family are in greater need and I have to help them? How am I going to deal with that? There's so many things to talk about. I help people in lots of areas that have nothing to do with money. Of course, it does have something to do with money because everything has something to do with money. But I spend a lot of time just helping people with their issues. If you give me a call and you come in, you bring a list of questions, a list of concerns, I'll help you as much as I can. So all you have to do is give me a call. I'm looking forward to talking to you.